Oh yeah, welcome to the Blake American Experience, and I am Blake Jackson here with my friend and co-host, John Cinder. We're Blake Americans, and we proud of it.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Blake American Experience with John Cinder and Blake Jackson. What's going on, Blake?
Man, it's that day.
It is that day. We hope everyone's great. We're at the time of recording. The eclipse is tomorrow, so it's been nice knowing you all, and hopefully we get this out in time, because for years we've been talking about doing this and haven't done it, and now we've waited till the opening to hell. The portal to hell is opening.
You know, we did have an eclipse back in, I think it was like a full one back in 97 or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard about it before. I don't put a lot of stock in that stuff. I know people are getting weird with it, but I've seen them come and go, partial, full, this sort of thing, that sort of thing. I'm sure it means something to somebody, but it's like for me, the flat earth thing. I don't think the earth is flat, but I also don't think it's round. I just don't care. I don't know. Like, it doesn't, for me, the earth is functionally flat. So when I look out at the horizon, it's flat the whole way. It's just like, whatever. I mean, the government lies to me. I know that. So if it turned out to be a dinner plate, I wouldn't be surprised. But functionally, it just doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. We won't be able to see it from here. We won't be able to see it from where I am, a full one.
I don't think I'll be able to see where I'm from either. So that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out one day.
Anyway, it's going to be great. And just remember, look directly at it.
Yeah.
So for the outline, for the housekeeping, we're going into housekeeping. Shout out to Fleckus Talks, the podcast, best new podcast of all time. But I like the housekeeping. Just a couple of headlines here. Let's just skip the rock over them. Let's not go too deep into them. But once again, Joe Biden is promising massive student loan forgiveness. And it's just so wild to me that I think this is the third time he's tried it. I think the first two times it was shot down, or maybe it did go through, but it's just so wild to me that, like, Joe Biden can't forgive those loans. I mean, dude, that money is federal money. That's taxpayer money. And, like, he's not forgiving any of our loans. We're still on the hook for those payments. It's not like Harvard is going to give free tuition.
Well, I mean, you already know what time it is. It's election season. Remember, it was election season till last time he made the promise. Dude, they're bribing, dude. They're desperate. This fucking guy's dead. He's
dead, dude. And even, like, we all know he's dead, but what disgusts me is people know he's dead, but he's still like, yeah, we'll vote for the shadow government. We'll vote for the shadow demons. Those are still good. We're still good with the shadow demons.
Well, the other side, they dislike Trump so much that they're willing to just vote a dead.
Willing to be ruled by shadow demons. Like, yeah, no, it's cool. Don't vote for me, or don't. What's the Simpsons quote? Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos.
Dude, dude. They'd rather have. It's racism, dude. They're so fucking afraid of racism that they are willing to die. You know, it's you know, I don't really understand. I don't really know what the hell's going on with this shit. Like, so far they haven't been able to pin anything substantial on Trump. I think they got him this time with the money, but
which money? Just not being able to pay his
No, just fucking dragging him back and forth to court every damn.
Oh yeah. And I think that was the plan all along. It's just a war of attrition. Mm-hmm. It's just beat him to death with legal battles, and eventually he just won't. It's not even going to be about money. At that point, it's going to be about court appearances. Like, he'll be so tied up in court appearances and stuff that even if he had the money, he wouldn't be able to run. So it's like a multi-pronged process that they're coming at him with. So again, we'll see how it turns out. Another thing in the headlines, good old Tony Blinken, Tony dual citizen with Israel Blinken, has announced that Ukraine will be joining Nato. So once again, it's been nice knowing you all.
Jesus Christ.
Is Lord.
Yeah, I wonder what the deal is with that.
Well, you know what it is, man. So my whole thing has always been to save the United States political situation, not just to save Dead Man's campaign, like he needs to be a wartime president.
Mm.
So instead of just starting what looks like a war of American aggression, you start like this actual existential quote unquote war with Russia, with Ivan Drago. We're going back to the ring with the USSR,
Yeah.
trying to build up this stuff like the new Red Menace, and that is just, it is not what it used to be. They do not know what they're doing, and even I can say that as like a non-policy wonk, nobody from the East Coast. I can see that like you guys are getting into a situation you have no idea what's going to happen. You have this idiotic preconception of this Cold War era war, but it's not just Russia. Like China's involved, Iran is involved.
Yeah, I mean these are definitely connected connected issues, and we got our fronts lining up. As you can look, we got the China thing lining up, the Eastern Front, which will probably have some issues to deal with, far as the Taiwan, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, if I was Xi Jinping, like I would go to Taiwan. Like they have already begun replacing Hong Kongites with mainlanders. Like they're bringing
Hmm.
in so many mainlanders to just replace the demographic of Hong Kong. So like that racial memory of the Hong Kong people, they've been under British rule for like 99 years, and then they were under their own rule for a while. Like they have this memory of what it's like to be from Hong Kong, but you keep bringing in Chinese from mainland China, that will change. I mean, that's what they did with Burma in
Hmm.
Myanmar. That's what they did with Tibet. That's what they're doing in Xinjiang, like with the Uyghurs. They're bringing in all their own people and they're just breeding them out. So anyway, just taking it back to the NATO thing, it's just a further escalation. It's something they said they weren't going to do, and Ukraine was rejected from NATO in the past for being too corrupt.
Hmm.
And now it's politically expedient, so I guess we're all going to die so that
Yeah.
Joe Biden can get reelected.
Well, I think it's a little deeper than that. Like, we got, in my opinion, Joe Biden is to America what Trudeau is to Canada. He is the global leaders, whoever they are. We don't have proof of exactly who they
Yeah,
are, but
he's the proxy puppet for
yeah,
the policies.
yeah, they have all of, and that's where I'm always, when it comes to Trump, I believe that Trump is not fully down with all of that, and I think that was the main issue when Trump became a legitimate candidate on his first run, is that they found out, oh shit, these people actually like this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for the last thing on our housekeeping list, our headlines, Intel officials in the United States, intelligence officials, have warned of potential threats of mass shootings at gatherings, sports stadiums, concerts, and churches. So just be careful when you're out there, folks.
Sounds like a threat.
Head on a swivel. And to the intelligence community, I would say you're not supposed to tell us what you're going to do. You're not supposed to reveal the game plan, dude. Just do it.
Look, it'll be a shame if you go to a game and bad stuff happens to you.
Yeah, it's just that. Yeah, the CIA has warned that they're going to shoot up the mall. That there's a shooting in the mall probably real soon. I don't know. Probably it's high evidence that there's going to be a shooting at the mall.
What they did that to Russia, didn't they?
You're talking about the embassy released a communique in the next. So they said for the next 80 days, don't go out in public. It's just, to me, it sounds like that text message on a Monday night, like, "Hey man, don't go to school tomorrow." "Hey man, I always liked you. Don't show up to school tomorrow."
Ooh, oof. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be back after these messages. I don't have any ads for tomorrow, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll figure something out. Maybe nothing. Okay. So first segment, something you told me is kind of big to dip into. Our movement towards conservatism is not really that thing. Like we all have heard the "how I left the left" stories, like whatever like that Black People campaign was for a while, talking about how the Democrats aren't actually for us. I want to get into leaving conservatism for
Oh,
being right wing.
that's a hard one, man.
And it is a really hard one. And for me, like I was embarrassingly really gung ho for Israel for a long time because of that sort of evangelical
Oh yeah,
equation
Dennis
of
Prager and
yeah, well, like of course he's for Israel, and I understand that. Like I don't begrudge Dennis Prager being allied with Israel or Ben Shapiro for that matter. What I begrudge is like doing it in American politics. What I begrudge is like co-opting the political process to advocate and lobby on the sly for your actual country. I mean, you're
yeah,
dual citizens and you actually stand for them. So, but going back to that, that's where I was. Is I sort of had this idea that they're God's chosen people, and the Hebrews are, but the secular democratic state of Israel is not the Israel of the Bible.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
that became one of the things that sort of turned me to see the Republican establishment and how they treated Trump, and then how what I thought were conservatives sort of turn on a dime with COVID.
Yeah,
And when
like dude from Texas. I'm talking about Mr. Cruz. The whole vaccine. You know, it, he was trying to basically pass some concession, like, hey, if you want to, vaccinated people can do this.
yeah, and
So
that
just
was at a big exposure. And
mhm.
for me, just in the public side, that was just like, well, this is insane. I thought these people were for us. But in addition, I just want to ask the audience and you, what have conservatives conserved? Like, what is it about? It just seems like, and you've heard this before, conservatism is liberalism going the speed limit. And so that has moved a lot of people in our spaces further right, but not in an extremist sense, in their desperate seeking of something that works, something that can actually conserve. If you have an aquarium and it's leaking, doesn't matter if it's leaking slowly or quickly, it's leaking,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And you're the fish. So we want new glass panes for our aquarium. And that is what this movement is, or what I think many conservatives, small c, are moving towards. And especially as we move into harder times, I just see a lot of conservatives say we need to stand with Israel. And it's like, man, have you seen what $50 buys you
yeah,
at the grocery
absolutely,
store
yeah,
nowadays?
absolutely, and that's a good point, man. And that's why I said this was a hard one. Because here's the deal, man. We got two parties, and I'm really getting frustrated with hearing people talking about I'm just not going to vote. And it's just like, dude, that's what they want. It's really hard to get people to see the bigger picture, that like there is a concerted effort to get rid of national borders. They want nationalism out of the picture. So that's the big picture. That's the conspiracy. But people aren't looking into it hard enough. They get caught up in the back and forth, the Democrat versus Republican fight. It's hard. How are you supposed to not, we can't, the third party, dude, it's not gonna happen on a
Well,
federal.
and it's not even necessarily about the third party. It's just we have left local politics in favor of the glamour of national politics. And
Hmm.
I like Trump, but to some extent, you should be more concerned with what's going on around you on your school board and your
Yeah,
municipalities. And that's just not that glamorous. And that information is not easy to access. It's probably easier than I think, but it's not like
it's not
information
that
about
hard.
Trump is, right? And in addition to that, when people start doing research on stuff, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I hate to use that term, but like the whole QAnon thing, I really wanted it to be true, but there are people who are still plan trusting to this day. And it has been almost 4 years since hashtag Patriots in Control
Trust
was
the
thrown
plan.
out there. And it's like, yeah, it's just like what plan? And they've always got like a new, well, there's a new thing and it's just over the next hill. You just gotta, are you trusting the plan? Are you paying attention? And it's like, yeah, I am paying attention. There have been multiple times where he told us Hillary Clinton's in jail in Guantanamo Bay, and tomorrow we're releasing a photograph of Barack Obama in
See,
Mujahideen uniform. It's happening. And it
so
just never happened. And nobody seems to remember those predictions not coming true. but they do cling to, oh, don't worry, Mike Flynn's going to come back and he's going to put all these people before a military tribunal and the corporation of the United States will be disbanded and the country will rise again.
Listen,
And it's just like none of that shit has happened. And every time you get into an argument about them, they just insult your intelligence. But it's, again, it's serving its purpose as a distraction. So we're not doing the research we need to do. It's difficult to do.
hmm
But yeah, there's so much distraction out there.
that one seemed like it really got to you there, man. Like,
It really did, man. I had people in my personal life who were like giving me shit, insulting my intelligence, insulting like my value as a human being because I didn't believe that QAnon was real. And then like the second Joe Biden got into office, crickets.
oh yeah,
And every time I bring it up, they ignore it. They just like they ignore it. They would never address like the times that I have wronged people in the past. I will go to them hat in hand.
Hmm.
Like I acknowledge that I did this thing and I apologize because I was wrong. And I just get frustrated because it's not hard to confirm this stuff. It's pretty easy. And then like the argument becomes like, no, Hillary Clinton's not in jail. She's right there. It's like, oh no, that's a clone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
It's like, fuck you. It's a
there's
clone.
dude, there's a new plan out though. We got a new plan. So these, you heard about the Trump James Bibles?
Oh yeah, no, I tweeted about it. You can find me at Cinder Mountain on X, where I was just like, it's never been more over. Like that for me. There's been two times when it was just over for me with Trump,
The
where I
gold
got off
plan.
the Trump train. I realize he's better than the alternative, but I'm off the Trump train from the digital trading cards. What he's like, I got a big announcement. I'm releasing a big announcement tomorrow. Everybody stay tuned.
It
And then
was in
it's
what
like
did it the height of,
Trump
hold-
digital trading cards, the
yeah,
EFT, an NFT, a Trump NFT. Like, oh, we're fucked, aren't we?
yeah, wasn't it like right in the height of like sitting on pins and needles to try to figure out what was going on with the election? Weren't we
Well,
still at,
it was before he had even announced his candidacy.
oh,
So everyone was like, "Here it comes!" And it's like Trump digital trading cards, free packet of Trump bubble gum with every pack.
I just, man, I love this guy, dude. I love his new ad though. It's just like, I know times are hard, so if times are hard, don't even think about sending me any money. But the point of the ad was to ask for money, shilling for money. It's whatever, man. Like, I think everybody out in the audience know what time it is when it comes to politics, man. They need money, and that's
Well, and I think for the first time in life, like we got a politician that actually needs money. Because he keeps losing court cases.
oh, they just
They're
draining his
just
fucking
drilling him.
dude. Dude, every day this guy's getting fucking court dates for parking tickets from 1987. Like, yeah, did you know Trump? Like, he stole all the parking in Manhattan in 1984, and he was raping girls and grabbing them by the pussy while he was doing it.
And
And
it's
dude,
like, yeah, he was convicted of rape. Oh, criminally? No, civilly.
yeah,
He's,
civil.
he's a civil rapist. Like, okay, so we're not going to prosecute him for that. No. So is he
Yeah,
going to jail? No, he's just got to pay money.
yeah, it's
It's like
not.
I don't think this is the same kind of rape. I don't know if you know what rape. That's a criminal charge. This was a civil charge.
I mean, it's just like the Kavanaugh thing, man. Dude. They're going nuclear with this shit. Like, this is why Trump gotta win, because I want to see by how much.
Well, that's why I don't think they'll let it go through. I just don't think they have the infrastructure to commit to install Biden or to fortify the election at that
Yeah,
level, because it
dude.
that is a huge operation, man. So it's like something unique has to happen.
Oh, did you hear about a possibility? Speaking of conspiracy theories on the internet, about possibly at the October surprise is going to be federally taking marijuana off Schedule One. Like Biden's gonna give us weed, man. Like Obama brought us those phones, man. You know what I'm saying? Obama gave me phone. How did that video go that you used to play back in the day? They gave me
Oh yeah,
Obama phone. Biden gave,
everybody in Cleveland got Obama phone.
yeah.
Keep Obama in president.
Keep
He gave
Obama
us
in
a
president.
phone.
Yeah, keep Biden in president, man. He gave us weed, dog. Like, cause because lot of debates about the weed stuff. Weed is the big talk
Yeah,
right
it
now.
could. So it's yeah, it could be that. I don't see that as like a nudge issue though.
You don't think
I
it's
don't
gonna
know
nudge
how
the
many
needle?
people that would mobilize because it's like yeah, your bread like the grocery thing is the biggest problem, right? Is like the prices and the cost of living that people are experiencing. That is what is really hurting people. So I don't know that legalizing marijuana because it's still going to be super expensive. And so people are struggling to buy food and make rent. So
Yeah.
they're just not going to have the disposable income to go get a sack. And I just don't see that moving the needle enough. I don't know that
Well, the
there's
thing
any issue outside of him being a wartime president that could mobilize leftist voters.
well, the thing is, like, to their credit, like, people are still being gaslit that the economy is not as bad as it seems. So a lot of people that aren't you get what I'm saying? Like, there's not
Yeah, oh
enough
yeah. No, I see
people.
it all the time and it perplexes me to no end.
Yeah, so like the left, like the people on the left, there are a lot of them that aren't really affected by real world stuff. You get what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
these people are plugged. Like they got jobs where they do cool things like that. That other artists we knew from back in the day. They people like that, like they have jobs in the art world where they're music producers or they're on a lighting crew or they got some good job in that kind of world and they're not really affected by real life stuff. Like they're not seeing like parts, issues with parts or supply chain stuff because they just like in COVID, restaurants shut down unless you were on a film set that needed food catered to them. So you can come eat at the restaurant if you're shooting a film in
Right.
California. It's stuff
Yeah.
like that. They don't live in the world like people in entertainment, people in politics, people adjacent to politics, and people who pretty much have busted their ass to get out of the tax bracket where you can't buy a home now currently. Like,
Well, yeah, and tax bracket is expanding
yeah, yeah,
significantly.
yeah.
Um,
I just
yeah.
looked recently. They was talking about like in my state, like you gotta make 90, like almost. You gotta no, it was like 100,000.
Yep,
You
yep.
have
I
to
saw
bring
that
in.
recently, and we had a
Yeah,
conversation offline where it's like it's changing monthly,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's a new trend too. So just to wrap that all up,
In the bow.
that's what voting conservatives, GOP gets you nowhere, but it gets you nowhere slower.
You want to be a little constructive about that. So what's the solution though? Like that's the part I guess is a hard pill to swallow. It's like,
Well, the solution is an actual nationalist that
mm,
and it's this is where it gets dangerous because of the resistance by private corporations. Excuse me, let me rephrase this. This is where it starts to sound like what they call hate speech is
mhm.
because we're in a very dire situation and it's getting worse. And America is a leviathan that moves very slowly. So when it finally does start bleeding to death, there's no way to stop it. And
Mm,
there's a lot of blood that comes out. So basically what I'm saying is the crash is going slowly because it is being managed. And America is in trouble in a big way. And what we need right now is triage, not treatment.
mm.
Like treatment will come, but right now we need to stop the bleeding. And sometimes that's like, well, we got to hack off a limb and cauterize the stump. And so what it seems drastic and you've heard rhetoric like this in the past in countries that have taken like a scary turn for the worst. But I would submit that we're on a scary trajectory right now. We're going to reach the point if we stay on this course for the next few years, if they install Biden again, like we're going to have 40 million foreign nationals living off the dole in the United
Yeah,
States.
and for
And
$100
and
bread.
right. So that is a reality and people will start starving to death. People will start murdering other people for basic goods that we took for granted in the 80s, in the 90s and even the 2000s.
Hmm.
Even in the 2020s. So like we're headed down a really bad way, and to think that it can't happen to us because we're America, it's like no, it's actually planned. If you listen to Klaus Schwab, if you listen to the UN 2030 sustainability agenda stuff, it's actually planned. They do talk about people starving to death. They talk about an angrier world. We talk about political violence, but this stuff is going to happen because of the need for change, and they're going to blame it on capitalism. But it's like no, you've been poisoning the well. That's why people are dying. So we need an actual, I want to say nationalist. That's got its own connotations. We need someone who actually cares about America and the people and who
Yeah,
understands that hard times require hard measures. Like hard men are the only thing that's going to save us. And that's not just political leaders. That's us. That's leaders in your community. Like we're going to
yeah,
have to tighten our belts and get to work. And that's not what normal people are used to. They're looking for a fix from Washington. But we've talked in the past, like our political, if we ever ran for presidency, our political thing would be all hands on deck.
yeah,
Like everyone
absolutely.
who can work will work because
Hmm.
within this next 4 years or 8 years, we will pay off that debt. And it's going to take an astronomical amount of work. But you've got people in the political system who are just siphoning off money. All that money that's getting sent to Ukraine is getting laundered. I mean, sure, some of it's going to go, but there are videos that come out all the time of them running out of bullets or running out. And it's just like, we've sent them 120, 160, something like that, $1 billion. Like, where's it all going? They're running out of bullets on the front line.
Don't worry about it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
don't worry. Don't worry. Okay, show us the receipts. Like, receipts? I don't speak English all of a sudden, right? So anyway, it's going to take really hard austerity measures that are self-imposed. You're going to have to up your production. We're going to have to deregulate in a significant way, and we're going to have to treat it a little bit like we did, back when everyone complains about the robber barons in the Wild West. And it's just like, okay,
Hmm.
we're going to drill, we're going to rip out these natural resources, and we're going to turn a profit in a significant way. And we need to do that for 8 years straight, 10 years straight, probably.
I say Trey. I say also like put the bums to work. Like
Oh,
all
that's
the
100%.
like the homelessness problem. It's like, dude, like now you can weed out.
Well,
You
the
can weed.
homelessness problem, sorry to keep cutting you off, but the homelessness problem is a drug problem.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a substance abuse problem. And I don't believe that addict thing, like that it's a state of mind. I do think you can change your brain chemistry and you do get into habitual modes of living, but you can get out of it. And some people can't, but I think most people could. I think most people, if you give them a reason to live, if you give them new teeth, if you give them like purpose, they
Hmm.
will rise to the occasion. Some won't, and you got to do something else with them.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. It's like some infrastructure shit that needs to go down real soon. What better way to save a little money on it by training up some of these people on the street, you know? You want guaranteed hot in the cot? You can come down here and help us build this wall.
Well,
Like,
yeah, and
yeah.
even to a certain degree, like some of these prisoners, right? With certain crimes, like, yeah, they need to pay their time, but you don't need to keep them in a box with animals, right?
Hmm.
If they're rapists, if they're murderers, that sort of thing, first degree murder. But some of these other offenses, like you could put them to work, and they would work, because there are plenty of guys that just don't have the opportunity to make things right. And I think this is one of the ways to get them to work towards rehabilitation is give them purpose, give them light at the end of the tunnel. So,
Well, it's so many jobs. Yeah, it's so many jobs that are out there that the excuse about this will tie back in about when you mentioned your problem with conservatism. It's not necessarily conservatism for me, and that's why I said it's a hard pill for me to swallow. It's actually parts. It's DC and Capitol buildings across the United States. Republicans.
well,
It
yeah, and they're private donors because
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
since I don't
It's
even
not us.
know.
It's not us. Like it's not us voting in these local elections. It's not us, the conservative business owners,
Well,
conservative
it's
blue
yeah, it's
collar
not
guys.
it's not it's not us voting to send jobs overseas and
Yeah,
have voted to do that for the last 40, 50 years to the point where the cost of living has skyrocketed and the living wage has actually gone or
yeah,
wages have actually gone down. Like that's both parties, but I blame conservatives more because they keep saying that we're the fiscal party and we want,
yeah.
American made and made in America. And it's like you guys are fucking us all and telling us one thing and doing another.
Well, yeah. I mean, like it's just when you had the numbers real tight on that whole like trying to send money down to the border to deal with the border, and there was like some shit added in for Ukraine and Israel at the same time, like some pork, in there, and it's just like what they were either side was looking for is for somebody not to vote on it, so they can be like, yeah, it's political season, yeah, you didn't vote on it, or yeah, you voted on this thing. It's just like these kind of games are the biggest problem I have with the Republican Party, because they don't have a problem with messaging. Like, people have accused them of having a problem with messaging or pandering. Like, they just won't try to connect with like the black community and stuff like that. I don't think that's really their problem, because if people get enough time to actually research the difference between the two parties and what they bring to the table, you will look at the Democratic Party as like they're just looking for people to buy off. They're trying to buy off voters. That's their base. They buy off voters to keep them in power so they can get connected to the political connections that provide them with financial gain on the side. And then the Republican side of it is that, in my opinion, they've been the best party for me, because they're the only party that stays out of my way for the most part. You get the Dems in, they promise you things, but they're going to come back. It's going to come back to haunt you somehow. It's either going to
Yeah,
lead.
yeah. Again, the conservative party is it's a slower rate of decay.
Yeah. On the back end, there's these big, and like the war, like war hawks, that we've generally been the one who's down for the war shit. But when somebody broke it down, the actual spending, like, it was actually on us, far as like the debt. A lot of these, like, we've spent more
Oh yeah,
money than
100%.
them. Yeah,
Well,
I found it hard to believe until I looked at it like, damn, so it was us.
like the funding that goes into the defense is for upkeep, right? It's
Hmm.
for operation. So anything outside of that, like plane tickets and boat tickets, is coming out of our pocket. Like,
Hmm.
so the mobilization will be additional funding. It's not upkeep funding. Well, we'll be right back after these messages, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I have no commercials to put here.
Imagine your ad here. Yeah, yes, shit to work with.
Okay, so I sent you a video that was about this company that works in the video game industry. It's a consulting company called Sweet Baby Inc. And we're a little late to the party on this, but I'm sure our listeners have no idea what we're talking about. And that's not on you. I envy you, actually. But it's a diversity firm, right? It's a DEI firm, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which works to make sure that the characters in the video games are the correct colors and sexual orientations. A lot of people on the staff of the video games are the right shade, and it's just they charge a lot of money for an evaluation, and then their evaluation presents you with a score, and that score these companies are then able to take to the bank literally and show that, hey, we're following these standards in the industry, in your industry as well, in the financial sector. Can we have a loan? And so that's a private company that is instituting a smaller section of the ESG score stuff. And you've heard Vivek Ramaswamy talk about this. You've heard a lot
Hmm.
of people. I'm sure your listeners are familiar with ESG, environmental, societal, and government standards, which is a financial institution like rating system where they rate corporations of any size. Anyone who's asking for a loan from like the big five banks or the however many big banks there are, they now have ESG scoring as part of their evaluation process if you're asking for a loan. So that is a way that global governance and national government has been able to influence the private sector via financial institutions to implement some of these ideological goals that they have for a different world. And we can talk about why that is some other time.
So
But
it's like a report card, pretty much. Are you?
yeah, but it's a report card like how many black guys or how many gay black women do you have on staff? Because that tends to be kind of the overrepresentation inside the DEI community. There's a lot of gay black women
Gay,
who,
black, transgendered women?
well, that will come. But if you get like between you and me, the gay, black, and transgender, is like that comes with some pretty debilitating mental attributes that make you non-functional. Like non-functional to the point where like we can't hide it. We can't we can't statue in a mop closet somewhere that's remade to look like an office. Like we can't have you on the premises. That's the predator trifecta.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about this whole nonsense is that like everybody knows, like even they know, like the T's kind of got to ride in the other car. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a joke about that too. Somebody had a joke about the the whole rainbow coalition. They had the gays, the lesbians, and all of that, but the transgender, it's like that everybody's uncomfortable about them. Just they don't. Nobody knows what to do with them, but we can't say the bad things about them. So this scoring card though that you're talking about, this will be basically like you have to implement all of this into your work day and
Yeah,
like
to ask
training.
for certain levels of funding, you need to have a certain score, right?
Mhm.
So the more of these boxes that you tick, the higher the likelihood that you will receive this investment
Ba- Based on compliance numbers, like
based on compliance. Yeah, and so like based on evaluation, which you have to pay for, which these private companies are like kicking back to the financial institutions. It's obviously all corrupt, right?
mhm.
I remember when like the George Floyd thing happened. I was working in the film industry, and I just remember that was the first time I started seeing like these kind of older black ladies with like the one seashell weaved into the braid, kind of the old dreads, like these hags. These older, old like the graying dreads lady that came there to have courageous conversations about race. That was the beginning of like this cottage industry of guilt taxing majority white entertainment businesses.
Mm.
And it's going to happen across the board. It's not just my approach to it. It's not just my experience with it in the circles that I run in. It's going to be everywhere. And what's dangerous about it is it's not just going to be scores, because in the video, which we'll probably have to link in the show notes, they were talking about how part of your workday soon to do the work, as they say, quote unquote. They always say, we can't just be anti racist, we got to do the work. And I've always been like
Mhm.
put off by that statement because it's always said with an emphasis that makes me nervous. Like, you got to do the work. I don't know what that means, number one. Like, because for me, do the work is like, here's the shovel, go dig the hole.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, what do you mean do the work? Like, so you're talking about action. What actions are you talking about? What is the list of things that we need to be doing when you say do the work? So let me just say that that's going to be part of the workday. So if you're working in a business, you work 40 hours a week. That means like 1 hour a week is going to be dedicated to begin with to anti racism. And for me, the only read I have on that, based on my understanding and experience, is that there's going to be like a group session where we're watching videos that talk to people about the toxicity of being white, of whiteness, analyzing whiteness. You know what I'm
I
saying?
Yeah, I got a feeling that they're gonna have like maybe if it's like the way you just explained it, they're gonna have a end of the day journal kind of thing that they gotta submit. Clock in, you have to kind of journal and reflect on yesterday's traumatic events as being, it's gonna be it sounds like it's gonna be a campaign about like how can we get people to snitch and talk openly about what's going on and believe this shit, like,
Well,
indoctrinate
that's going
them.
to be part of it.
Hmm.
And sorry, I keep cutting you off, but
No, I just think that I mean I get a little excited of it. I'm just at the same time just a little low energy about it at the same cuz it's just like dude, it's nonstop. Like don't we already got compliance videos about racism, sexism? What are the pillars of by law? There are certain things that businesses can and can't do. Like we have discrimination law, right? You can't discriminate on age, sex, race, gender. There was some other shit, like the
yeah,
whole
we
list.
have laws, we have
Yeah,
discrimination laws, so it's already
yeah.
there. So what this is reaching into is like mental conditioning. This is becoming like private propaganda. In
Mm.
in 1984, there's a term called Crime Stop, which is your own cognitive construct to recognize a thought crime when it's being formulated in your head, and you stopping that. That is what Crime Stop means in 1984. And in Brave New World, it's these mantras that they have repeated to themselves when they're children, via subliminal messaging headphones while they're sleeping, that just kind of enforce these tenets of the world state.
Mm.
And then they just say them to each other all day throughout the day. And that's kind of what this is. Like, if you have to work on anti-racism every day, you got to wonder what that material is. Like, is that Robin DiAngelo? Is that Ibram X. Kendi? Is that Malcolm X? Is that
Yeah,
Elijah
yeah.
Muhammad? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, who are we reading here? Who is prescribing action and thought processes
You know
in
who it
this? And
is.
well, I mean, Satan, right?
Yeah, no, I mean it's probably going to be some directives on a global scale, some more of the WEF, W, whatever they're called, the World Economic Forum agendas. Like,
Yeah, and that's an NGO, and we know that they're ideologically aligned with the UN, though they're not
hmm
directly connected. But I just find it odd that no matter where we go, whiteness is always the problem that we need to deal with. It's never like, well, the Chinese killed 100 million of their own people. We should probably look into that. Or like what the Bolsheviks did in Russia. We should probably look at that. We probably shouldn't do that. There's no literature on that. And if there is, it's being suppressed. But what we really need to deal with is white colonialism, which
yeah,
is vaguely new.
I mean that's where this whole like, why, what's the hyper focus on the past so much? Like, there's so much going on in the present right now, especially in the past 4 years, 3 to 4 years, that this hyper focused on past sins, past, like, history should just be that, what it is. It's precautionary from some things, like, yeah, let's not do that stupid thing again, or let's not fall for that stupid trick again. Like, it's good for that. It's good for understanding where you are, like how did you get here, but like you got to paint a picture moving forward. So like how do we, what's with the hyper focusing on the past on either side, because that's the kind of the circle jerk we kind of get into. It's just like, well, what about these guys, what about those guys? Is what are white people currently doing right now is the question that this has to come up so much, and the answer is nothing. So then you have to ask yourself, what is it really about? And I think it's about your money. I think they want to drain you guys like the kulaks. Like, that's first step. Financially strap you guys, uh, frustrate you guys, and then radicalize some of the worst of you.
Yeah, I would have to agree because if you look at the UN, if you look at the WEF, it's probably it's probably majority white faces, right?
Mhm.
It's not some forward thinking South African uh, Zulu woman who's putting this stuff out. Like she's probably there, but she's not writing this stuff. It all seems like all this literature is being written by one people group in particular. And gosh, I forgot the name of those people.
The bankers,
The banker, yeah, the international bankers.
the international bankers. Yeah,
It just seems like it's coming a lot from the bankers, and I don't necessarily know why.
the financiers.
And I think to close it out, I think that the bankers, the international bankers, see the white people of the world as kind of more or less in control right now of the global situation. Now, with some exceptions like China, you can make an argument about Russia, but they're white enough. A lot of people say, and so this group of international bankers wants to rule the world. And right now, their biggest roadblock is like the white middle class of the Western world, where life is good enough and they've got upward mobility, so that needs to be destroyed so they can move into a place where they're in control. And it doesn't matter what race you are if you're super rich. I think they're all sort of on the same page. Like you look at Jeffrey Epstein and Diddy, like they're getting into the same shit, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's not a race thing. It's an affluence thing. Like when you
yeah.
get that rich, you kind of become Luciferian
It's the
by
threshold to,
proxy.
yeah, you pass the threshold to the funny business going on. You know, yeah, I think that's a good place to end it there. I think we should talk about Epstein next. You guys want to hear about Epstein? You
Yeah.
like it?
Join
So
us next week because join us next week. We're fine. We're not going to kill ourselves. We're going to talk about Hillary Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein.
yeah, absolutely. This Diddy stuff is kind of getting out of hand. I've deliberately just kind of waited for people to fill me in on it instead of following it.
Yeah, it's too much. I can't take this information piecemeal anymore. I'm just over that. I'm so burnt out, period, that I just don't have time to speculate on stuff. I'm speculating on enough. So thank you guys for joining us. Check out our links in the description for the show notes, for resources. If you want to support the show, check out some of the links and click on them. Otherwise, we're going to keep at it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
It's me, your beloved president, and I listen to a terrific show, the Blake American Experience. It's a great show. We love our Blake Americans. They have the best show. Really terrific. Everyone should like and subscribe. And if you don't, maybe this won't go so well for you.